So you say it took 10,000 nights. This is from the book. It took 10,000 nights to learn the lessons of God's Spirit was teaching you in the pain, and you would not give up a moment if it meant that you had to unlearn those lessons. And that's often impossible to see when you are on day 500 or day 5,000 of a person suffering. And there's a lot of people suffering in this world. So I guess as we close this conversation, what would you say to the people listening that are on day 500 and day 5,000? I can't see the picture that you've now seen looking back of your life, where you've learned those lessons, but they might not know it, but they're learning the lessons.
Yeah. I would say to people who are sort of in the middle of it, one, be brave enough to lament, like call out to God. You don't need to do this on your own. You don't need to act like it's all okay. And one day things will, somehow turn around. Like draw near to God right now and tell him exactly how you're feeling. Because for me, it is being really honest with God and vulnerable. We talked about being vulnerable with our friends, but just being vulnerable with God, like this is hard and I want to walk away, but I don't. I want to be with you. So I would say just keep talking to God. Don't ever stop. Ask him to draw near to you. Ask him for his presence. And I would say open the Bible and ask God, please speak to me. I mean, I remember just saying, I kind of like Jacob, I'm not going to let you go until you bless me. I'm not leaving my quiet time until I hear from you. And God speaks. Somebody once said, God is always talking, but are we listening? And I think just asking God to attune our ears to hear his grace, to know that he really is in our minivan and he really is beside us when we're reading the word, so that even when our circumstances haven't changed, we have a different sense of what living through those means. Because I don't think you want to go through 5,000 days of slogging it out, just thinking, okay, one day there's heaven. I mean, certainly we want that. One day there's heaven. But in those 5,000 days, we want God to infuse them. Maybe our circumstances aren't better or changed, and maybe we live in agony, and maybe life is really hard. But we want to cry out to God to say, draw near to me, because that's how we make it through 10,000 nights.
And I guess on the flip side of that question, I know a lot of people that in many ways say they are super blessed and they're having a great life now and they're not suffering. And so I guess what would you tell yourself in your older 20s when everything was going well, like to the people that seem not to be suffering in this life, which I know is rare, but what would you say to those people, as most likely they will experience it one day? But yeah.
I would say to people who are not suffering, that feel like, life is great right now, I would say, enjoy what God has given you. I'm happy that God is honestly blessing you with those things, but don't put your value in those things and don't base your life on those things, because they might be here and they might be gone, but the word of God and God himself will last forever.